There's a lot of research that's happening just for research purposes, and this has created like a wealth of information that's been like exponentially like increasing over the past years. And the problem is that this research is becoming highly fragmented, which means that researchers in their own field can't really keep up with everything that's going on within their field and around. So there's like a paper published every minute, like literature doubles every 9 years, and there's like about 3 billion articles like in the scientific domain. So what we want to do is we're creating like an artificial intelligence algorithm that can process this information. It can like begin structuring things to do with like proteins, genes, and lipids, and we create what is called like a knowledge graph. And this knowledge graph really serves to map out the metabolic pathway of the disease, and then we can begin identifying, okay, there might be a cool interaction between these specific proteins, which if we interrupt with this interaction, we might be able to like either reduce the way that the disease progresses or even like reverse for like coronary artery disease, buildup of fatty deposits in your arteries. So it goes like a stepwise process, and there's a lot of like, okay, this could be a potential one. We need like a validation step using like models that have previously been built, and then going into the lab and doing some preclinical work to see exactly whether or not this could be like a potential target to move forward.
So what exactly prompted your interest in cardiovascular diseases in particular?
For cardiovascular disease specifically, I worked as like a consulting project for a company in Cambridge that's looking at new biomarkers for coronary artery disease as well, but this is more of like a scientific, like primary research approach. And they really made it clear to me the unmet need that there is in cardiovascular disease, right? And so cardiovascular disease is something that a lot of people spoke about in the past, and drugs have been approved that are quite effective, like for coronary artery disease, and you have like statins, blood thinners, and things like this. But the thing is that now the whole biotech landscape has moved into like a phase of genomics, and oncology is like completely taken over everything. So if you look at the funding landscape for cardiovascular disease, well, if we put it in perspective first, if we look about how many people die from like coronary artery disease, it's about 9 million people each year. And then we take all cancers combined, it's about 9.8 million people per year. And then cardiovascular disease in general is 7.6 million people per year. So like cardiovascular disease is something that is on the same level as cancer, but then we look at the funding, and if you look at US companies and startups that are looking into oncology and cardiovascular disease, oncology is about 15.6 billion pounds, and then cancer is about like cardiovascular disease is about 1.2 billion pounds. This is a 15-fold difference for something that's having a more or less equal impact.